and the Londonderry School District School Board, today, June 3rd. And if you'd all please rise, and Mr. Blunt, if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you just remain standing for one moment, I'd just like to remember Alice Liskawa, who we lost earlier last week. Thank you. And Nate's giving directions. All righty. Nate, if you don't mind for 1 second, I know I'd spoken to Mr. Blunt a minute ago. So, Mr. Blunt, I believe you have announcements about the summer programs. So if you would do that first, please. Thank you.
Just like to make an announcement that we are extending the deadline for registration for the elementary summer school program to June 13th. Registration forms may be picked up at any of the elementary school offices or the district office. Those students who have been identified for the program should be receiving a second mailing from the 3 elementary schools and Moose Hill. The second announcement has to do with the K-12 Summer Enrichment Program. We have also extended those offerings to June 13th. We have approximately 10 of them filled at this point, and expect to get a few more in before the deadline of June 13th. You may go on the district website, londonderryschools.org. You can find the summer school brochure. You can download it, fill it out, and send it in to the district office. That's it.
Thanks, Mark. And that information you said was on the website as well?
Summer enrichment is on the website.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. And let's see. Nate, I think you've got a couple of things. You want to introduce them?
Yes. Chuck, we'll let Chuck do the,
All right.
the introduction.
Sorry, I should have known. Chuck.
Thank you. About 8 years ago, we started an energy conservation program in the district and has been very successful. And tonight we're reaching another milestone. I want to introduce a couple of people first. Bob Lees. Come on up.
Hi, Bob.
Bob is our energy manager. Bob has been working behind the scenes for all of this time, getting the data, checking the schools, helping to educate staff and students about the program. And Bob Kucha. Bob's our HVAC technician, and Bob also works behind the scenes a lot, keeping the equipment running. We have over 900 pieces of HVAC equipment in the district, keeping everything running properly, working on the scheduling. Every Monday morning, they get together and spend some time looking at all the activities for the week, scheduling the heat or ventilation as we need it. And this is, as I said, has been a very successful program due to the cooperation of the staff, the students, everybody in the school district. But Bob Lees and Bob Kucha are probably the driving forces behind it. Also want to introduce tonight the president of Energy Education, Chuck Fosnot.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to present this award. As I was telling the folks before the meeting, this is the first time this award has been delivered to any school district in the northeastern United States. Energy Education has been in the energy conservation business with school systems for over 22 years now, and we have over 890 client districts. In the Northeast, we have over 100 client districts. This is the first time that we're presenting the Lighthouse Award, to the Energy Lighthouse Award, to any school district in the northeastern United States. And it's really a significant accomplishment and a testimony to the hard work of the gentleman that you see right here, but it's also a testament to the leadership and the teamwork that really is created throughout the entire school system. I'd like to read the award and present this to the school committee and superintendent. Be it known that in grateful recognition of extensive conscientious efforts conserving our nation's resources, protecting taxpayer dollars, serving as a model of energy conservation to fellow school districts, and achieving $2,404,362 in savings, a 29% savings over 8 years through March 2008. Londonderry School District is hereby presented the Energy Lighthouse Award for judicious stewardship of financial and natural resources. Signed, Dr. William S. Spears, CEO and founder, Energy Education Incorporated. Congratulations.
Thank you. Actually, it's all these guys. These are the guys that do it. So, Nate, congratulations. Thank you very much. This is all, I mean, this is terrific, but it's really Chuck and these guys that do this. I know enough when I leave this building in an evening, if those lights aren't out, I'm in trouble. And they send Bob after you. See, Bob's the big guy. So you don't want to not turn the lights out. It's that simple. But Chuck, to you and your staff, you do this town great service, and we appreciate it. It helps us, as the plaque says, you're stewards of the taxpayers' money. And this is $2.4 million that they didn't have to spend over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
That's a
And that
lot
was-
of money.
That was before oil was $5.
Right, and that was and great, that's a great point, John. That's in those dollars. In today's dollars, I can't imagine what it would be. But that's just terrific, and we thank you very, very much. You make us all successful. So, gentlemen, thank you guys. You guys are great. Sir, thanks very much, and welcome to Londonderry. Okay, Nate, next we've got,
Yes, I think Jeff Dowd just walked in the room.
yes?
I received a phone call from him, and he has an announcement to make on behalf of the Local 99 restaurant that I think the school board would enjoy.
Hi, Jeff, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I apologize that I was late.
That's all right.
You're not,
The reason for my visit today is the 99 restaurant on July the 28th will be closing down for 3 days to do a rebrand, kind of an extreme makeover. Throughout this process, for 2 weeks prior, we'll be doing an auction, an in-house silent auction for all of the artifacts, and I'm sure most of you folks have seen the artifacts we have in the restaurant, auctioning them off to the public. With the funds that we raise through this auction, 2/3 of the money is going to come here to the town, to the school board, into the school district. We'd also like to present a check to the school board, if possible, if I could have a member to the restaurant on Wednesday, the 6th of August, to present a check. Obviously, the goal is to raise as much money as we can. With the other third of the money that we raise, it's going to go to the Greater Derry Boys and Girls Club. Just kind of our way to give back to the community. And I'm sure the school district here in town could use the extra money. The most money that we've raised as a company through 55 of these remodels has been $14,000. So it's a good chunk of change that I'm sure that the taxpayers here in town would love to have towards their school system. I know when I was living here in town, I would have enjoyed it to go to my school system. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we're hoping that with you folks' help, we can also get some community pictures from the schools and from teams, whether it be from the band or cheerleading teams or football teams, basketball teams, that we can put up around the restaurant. The more that we have, the better. And it's a great way for teachers and for students and parents to come in and see pictures of themselves, and the community to see the pictures of themselves growing up here in town.
no, that's great. Thank you so very much. We greatly appreciate that. And Nate, I guess we can work with Peter to push pictures or, whatever those
Already started.
requirements. Great.
Already got Jim, Mike, Kobe, Andy Susi working on some of the better pictures of.
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter.
While we have the TV here and
Yep.
an audience of 6, if
Well, there's probably 8 watching, so.
If anyone at home has older pictures from any of the sports or music or a band, if they would be willing to bring them in, and we can make copies of them, and then
Sure.
Yes.
So it would be nice if we could go back a number of years and have some of the older
Great.
pictures in there, as well as the current ones. I think that would be a good thing too.
So terrific. Thank you. Jeff, you can just work with Peter to
Absolutely.
coordinate all that. And if there's anything else we can do for you, just, let us know, because, this is, as you say, if the auction is going to benefit, 2 worthy causes, both the
Right.
district and the Derry clubs, I think that's just great. So we greatly appreciate it, and
We're
you guys
glad
have been
to
an
help
asset to the
give back.
town, so thanks.
Jeff,
Thank you very much for having me today.
the date of the auction one more time, so in case
Sure.
people missed it?
The auction, I believe, begins on July the 11th. It's a Friday, and it'll end on July the 26th. And we'll have records right there in the restaurant. You'll be able to come in, and anybody can come in and place a bid.
And when was the shutdown?
The shutdown is July the 28th,
128th.
and we'll reopen on July the 31st.
Okay. And we'll make sure, without a doubt, somebody's there on the 6th of August. Just
Excellent.
coordinate with Peter and time, and we'll
Wonderful. Thank you very
figure
much.
all that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. So we got that, we got Mr. Blunt. And
Mr. Chair, make a motion for the consent agenda?
I have a motion for the consent agenda, a second.
Second.
And I believe we have one retirement.
We do. The district has a retirement, Hope Collins, who served as the speech-language pathologist in the district for 12 years now. And in the first part of her career, she worked up at North School and then moved to Matthew Thornton 5 years ago, and has joined that family with Carol there. In addition to her caseload, she has shared her expertise on child development with the Early Entrance Committee and the Retention Committee. And the district's going to miss all of her skills in speech and language and her whole group lessons that many have indicated they find rather interesting. They'll also miss seeing the beautiful quilts that she creates. But as we all hear rumors that after she retires, she'll be making a quilt for all 5,500 people in the school district. Oh, that's not on the, no, I'm sorry, that wasn't on the sheet. But she's looking forward to continuing to meet with fellow quilters from Matthew Thornton. And so that's good news, and the district wishes her well.
Thanks, Steve. Also, just before we take a vote, I'd like to add to the number of meetings, June 4th, Londonderry High School is adult ed graduation, 6:30 tomorrow evening. So the board will be in attendance at that ceremony. I also have a request that the July 22nd meeting, at the pleasure of the board, if we could move that to either the 15th or the 29th, whichever works better for the majority of the board. John, do you have a preference?
No preference.
Okay, Steve? Lonnie, you said no,
Neither one.
and unfortunately Ben's not here yet. Nate, is 15th better than the 29th, you think, for you guys, or 29th better?
What would you say, Peter?
15th, I think, is
15th? Okay, so why don't we reschedule that, if you would, please, to the 15th? And, yeah, with that, I'll call for a vote. I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. 4-0, and,
Just,
I'm sorry, yep.
Yep,
Go
one
ahead.
more
I
announcement.
got a couple, too.
One more announcement. We moved right into the consent agenda. There's a sneak preview concert that is going to give the music that will be played in China, and that's on Thursday, June 5th at 7 o'clock. So that's 2 nights from now. Unfortunately, the board will be in this room with the 10 to 5 meeting. Maybe we can make it 10 to 2 and get to the concert. So they'll be doing that concert, and that's for free, and it's for the entire community, and that will be in the gym. They will have a free will offering at the door, which is going to the Red Cross to benefit those that have been involved in the earthquake in China.
Yes, Nate.
One other quick announcement. We don't have final figures in yet, but as of the middle of last week, 91% of our senior class have been accepted to either 2-year or 4-year schools or training schools, and we still have to hear from another 30 to 35 kids. So last year, I think our numbers were 86%, and the year before it was a little bit lower. But we want to extend our congratulations to the senior
Absolutely.
class for this outstanding achievement. And also, too, I want to thank the parents and our faculty and staff for all their effort with these young men and women in getting them to move on to the next level. And we're very proud of them, and we'll be able to give final figures probably at the July meeting. And I also believe our dropout rate is probably running right around where it was before. So That's not too bad.
No, that's beyond not too bad. I mean, that's just great. 91 plus kids, percent of the kids going to college, and far less than 1% on a dropout list just means that, we continue to offer opportunities, to these kids, and that's exactly what we're here for. So, Nate, congratulations to you, everybody at the high school. Mr. Dolphin, I know he does a lot of work over there along with the rest of the guidance staff. Yes.
I'd just like to say something on that. There's been quite a bit of talk and meetings on workforce housing in town. So I do agree that, this is great for the students and the parents, that all of these students are doing so well. But I think the community has to be thankful to the school district, too, for how attractive we look to businesses. The airport access road broke ground last fall, and they've done the cuts across the Merrimack River and across the Cohos Brook. That will be completed in 2013, which opens up our 1,000 acres of industrial land up by the airfield. And that's all in Londonderry. The number of jobs, I don't have the number, but it's a very large number of jobs that this opens up, in the tens of thousands of jobs for the region. And for businesses that are moving here, to be able to look at the school district that resides within the community that they will be putting their companies in, and be able to say that 91% of these students are going on to second education, and that less than 1%, much less than 1%, are dropouts. Those companies will look at that and they will say, Londonderry is the community that we want to locate in. So the value extends far beyond the students, the parents, and the school district. And thank you to the superintendent and every staff member in the district for making that a sales point for the community.
Thanks, Steve. And with that, we will move to committee reports. CJ, welcome.
Hello.
You get to lead us off.
Okay.
Isn't that exciting? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I got a few things. 2 weeks ago on Friday, the 23rd, New Hampshire BioConnect, which is the Londonderry High School chapter of the statewide biotechnology organization, held a science day at the LMS for the 6th graders. 23 members participated along with the instructor, and they basically ran all 4 of the 6th grade science classes for the day. They were involved in a series of forensic labs, which was like hair analysis, and worked with DNA, so some pretty cool stuff. Both the students and the members had a lot of fun with that, and the teachers at the LMS were very impressed with the organization's work. As of now, New Hampshire BioConnect plans to do it again next year, but there's talk of having it done in the fall. Yesterday, the Student Council was honored to escort both Senator Sununu and the press to the press conference held yesterday at the Memorial Garden behind the high school. It was on the Tripoli disease that's, I guess it killed a kid in the state, and so the governor was supposed to make an appearance, but the senator ended up coming, and they held a press conference. This past week, both the boys and girls varsity tennis made it to the finals, which hasn't happened, I don't think, ever in Londonderry High School history, but it did happen last week. Unfortunately, both lost by 1 point, but they played a really great season. The girls' team was actually undefeated for the entire regular season.
That's great.
So that's it.
Thanks, CJ. Excellent. Thank you very much. Mrs. Slozak.
Hi. The Festival for Youth met this afternoon with Mrs. Blanchard's first graders. The first graders visited at the high school for their final end-of-the-year project. Each first grader, with the help of his or her buddy, painted a shadow box with the word friends on top. And this is it. And I'll pass this down so you can take a close look at it. The kids all had to enlarge the holes in the top to fit the dowels in, paint all the letters. So they put a considerable amount of work in here. And the ghost is for the ghost puppets they made in the fall. Then there's Dr. Seuss paper in there because in March the high school kids gave the first grade students Dr. Seuss books, and then there's a group picture of everyone in there as well. So they had a lot of fun with that. And speaking with Mrs. Blanch after school today, she feels the kids have made some lifelong friends, which is really nice. Also, the group will be having a car wash on Saturday, June 7th, from 10 to 2 at the Luke Oil in Londonderry. They're raising funds to support Marcel's Way, which is an organization that helps people battling mitochondrial disease. All money raised will be donated to help those battling the disorders. And mitochondria are present in nearly every cell of the body and are responsible for creating more than 90% of the energy needed by the body to sustain life and support growth. And currently, we have 3 students in town that do suffer from this disease, and the funds will help to help the families with the expenses they incur as far as treatment, medication, blood test, surgeries, and the other needs that they have. They hope the board, the community, and everyone will come out and support them on Saturday. Middle school special curriculum teacher Jan Armstrong has informed me that Samuel Breslau, 6th grade special curriculum advanced readers workshop student, has won the 2008 Nicholas Green Award for New Hampshire. The National Association for Gifted Children, through its affiliate, the New Hampshire Association for Gifted Education, offered gifted students in New Hampshire the opportunity to be named the Nicholas Green Distinguished Student. Nicholas was a delightful, precocious child who, at the age of 5, was touring Europe with his parents and younger sister. While in Italy, bandits attacked his family car and shot and killed Nicholas. His death became noticed internationally because his parents donated his organs to Italians in need of organ transplant. And to honor Nicholas, his parents have established this award. So in memory of Nicholas, NAGC and NHAGE sought an outstanding student who is currently in grades 3 through 6. The award includes a $500 U.S. savings bond and a certificate of excellence. And Sam and his parents will be invited to the New England Conference in October of this year to formally receive the award before hundreds of teachers, administrators, and other professionals. Gail Esterly reports that 18 Londonderry students received their National Academy Foundation Academy of Finance certificate at a ceremony at Rivier College on Thursday, May 29th. Sarah Budzinski received an AOF Advisory Board Scholarship. Kelsey Formulari received the Glen O'Bleens Junior Memorial Scholarship, given in memory of Glen O., who was in Londonderry's first AOF graduating class. Derek Hansen was recognized for being selected as one of only 25 students nationally who will receive an NAF AOF City Scholarship. And the Academy of Finance program also received a $3,000 grant from the Citigroup Foundation. Funds will be used to support curriculum, student recognition, and field trips related to AOF studies. Sandy Brown from North School would like you to know that all of the 3rd grade students at North participated in Empty Bowls fundraiser. Students were from Mrs. Rails, Mrs. Martinez, Mrs. Francoeur, Mrs. Hammond, and Mrs. Brown's classes. The 3rd grade students made bowls during art class with the help of art teachers Aaron Crosby and Bev Bellis. And last Thursday evening, approximately 100 people came to buy a bowl and have some ice cream. Ice cream was donated by Max and Moose Place and Dairy, and about $500 was raised, and that'll be donated to the St. Jude's Food Pantry. South School teacher Jen Catulli reports that on Thursday, May 29th, the first ever South School Leapin' Lizards jump roping team performed for their school. They began as a club in November, where 90 kids learned the basic skills. Tryouts were held in February, and 28 students, all of them girls, were asked to become team members. They picked their name, Leapin' Lizards, and they've been practicing ever since on Tuesday mornings at 7:45. The leaders of the group are Troy Berg, Joan Laurenti, Dawn Gray, Jen Colantoni, Katie Myers, and Jen Catulli. The team hopes to perform for the other schools before school gets out. They had a lot of fun and can't wait to start up again next year. They continue to practice, partly because they want to keep their skills sharp, and partly because the girls just don't want to stop. The Monsoon team hosted its annual senior social on May 21st. Former Monsoon 6th graders visited and shared future plans with their teachers. Teacher Jeannie O'Boyle says it was great to see such articulate, well-rounded individuals share their memories with them from their experiences on the team. For the past month, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade struggling readers and writers had a writer in residence as their writing teacher. They worked for 4 weeks on a writing piece with Mrs. Dede, a local author. This was made possible by a grant from the Children's Literacy Foundation. And Mrs. Dede writes fiction and nonfiction books for children and is the author of over 40. The Thunderstorm team was honored this month to have Mike Boyle, a chief warrant officer with the New Hampshire Army National Guard, and the father of Devin Boyle, a 7th grader on the team, to present the school with a flag that was flown on Thanksgiving Day at Sather Air Force Base in Baghdad. He wanted to thank the students for sending cards and holiday decorations while they were stationed overseas. Another 7th grade team just completed a collaborative research project on historical science biographies. Jessica Payer, who's also here tonight and will do a presentation a little bit, taught the science and technology component, Peggy Fox the writing component, and Paula Chesson was responsible for the research component. The students created a newspaper or talk show script to make historical connection between the works of different astronomers and how their research was influenced by world events. 8th grade foreign language students of the month will be attending an annual field trip to La Carretas to celebrate their exemplary effort and participation throughout the year. They will spend the time speaking the language as well as enjoying the food. And I also have a note, but Chris has already reported on the BioConnect classes, which was also a wonderful experience. If you walked by the middle school on Thursday afternoon, Thursday was a busy day, you might have been treated to a s'more cooked by student-built solar ovens. Students tested their ovens on Wednesday and then recorded the temperatures throughout the day on Thursday, with the culminating event of actually cooking their s'mores. Temperatures reached heights of 275 degrees in some of the ovens, so they did their homework. Matthew Thornton staff and students are all set for Walk New Hampshire Day on Wednesday, June 4th. That's going to happen rain or shine. PE teachers Mike Korf and Scott Loans have marked out 2 paths. One is a quarter mile, one is a half mile. And the kids will be walking rain or shine tomorrow and Thursday. At the end of the day, the total number of miles walked by the students and adults will be tallied and reported to the State Walk New Hampshire Committee. And Vicki Stickney has created certificates for each person that will recognize their participation. And lastly, all the log sheets have been counted, and we are very excited to announce that this has been an outstanding year for Books and Beyond at Matthew Thornton. Everyone at MT went bananas for books and participated in the program. 544 students have earned gold medals. Students read a total of 164,200 books, or 4,105,000 pages. And we all look forward to honoring our students at the awards assemblies in June and celebrating with banana splits. So congratulations to all the kids. That's it.
Thanks, Pat.
You're
That's
welcome.
great. I tell you, now working out of town, I miss like s'mores and ice cream.
All the good stuff.
and
Maybe you can get the La Carreta dinner.
Yeah, I can get something, I don't know. I'd rather have the ice cream. Maybe banana splits I can probably make. Make my effort to get over there and dish out some ice cream. School board, Mr. Campo.
Went to the technology meeting, but I won't say anything because 3 items on here for technology, so we'll leave it up to them.
That's it.
Nothing-
Young.
Nothing this week.
Mr. Robinson.
Stopped in on the Budget Committee last week. The portion of the meeting that I was able to attend was largely talking about the letter that the Budget Committee was asking the town council and the, sorry, I'm getting distracted here, was asking the council and the school board to sign regarding the education, the retirement reform process. I noticed in the Union Leader today that the conference committee came to an agreement today that was largely down the Senate path. So a lot of the cuts that were proposed in the House plan were either dropped wholesale or negotiated down quite a bit.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. And unfortunately, I haven't made any meetings. However, I just want to bring this up quickly. I did have the privilege last evening of attending the commencement exercises at Manchester Central for the Londonderry students at MST, which is the Manchester School of Technology. Last evening, 33 of our students received their certificates of completion from MST. I thought it was interesting because we were just talking about kids going to college. Of that class, which has Goffstown and Manchester, Londonderry, and a few other communities, in those courses of study, 76% of those kids are going on to secondary, or rather post-secondary education. So couple that with the kids who are going to be, I think 23 tomorrow night, are going to be graduating from Londonderry's adult ed. I don't know the statistics, but I certainly suspect a good number of those are going on to colleges or into the military or launching their careers. It just goes to show that, you know, we cherish every child here, and we want to make sure that we provide opportunities for every one of these kids. And Nate, you guys do an outstanding job in making sure that that truly does happen. And with that, we will move on to Mr. Blunt. And the people who do the real work, the science team.
I'd like to introduce Ann Kalachi, LMS Curriculum Coordinator. she'll introduce the science team this evening. A couple months ago, this group presented to the Curriculum Council, and Mr. Campos suggested we bring the science update to the board this evening. You'll get a good glimpse of the changes that they've made during the past year based on the New Hampshire science frameworks that were adopted a couple summers ago. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Kalachi.
I do want to introduce three of our most wonderful science teachers who volunteered their time again for the second time they did this presentation at C3 also. As Mark said, this is sort of an update for you as to where we are in our science curriculum. In the fall of 2006, New Hampshire implemented new frameworks. And in that framework implementation, one piece that changed was that the grade level spans were altered. Where they used to be the end of grade 6 and the end of grade 10, they now became much more specific. And in relation to the middle school, there's now a grade level span that's 5-6 and one that's 7-8. So with that in mind, we had to take a look at where we placed our curriculum grade to grade and alter our benchmarks. So that was our first job. At that point, we also created a consistent unit template, and teachers reviewed previously made curriculum and made decisions grade to grade as to whether we would purchase some or write our own. And we did both. In this case, you'll see examples of both of those. We also implemented the new science kneecap. This would be our first full counting year, I guess, of that. And then piloted the new program this year with the beginning of the writing of the common assessments. So with that being said, Rachel Christensen is one of our 6th grade teachers, Jessica Pear, one of our 7th, and Alicia Ronayne, one of our 8th. And we're going to show you what some of those changes were and some of the great student work that was a result of it. So if I can. Nope, wrong one, sorry. I can't see up there. Sorry, that's the one that tells you about the, that one, right? Yep. The other one we can refer to, that's why we made the changes. Anybody want to use this?
Okay, so as Annie told you, during this 2007 school year, we had to go through our entire science benchmarks, and we had to align the New Hampshire state.
What,
I
you want-
really do have to use that. I'm sorry, okay. Oh,
Okay.
oh, okay. So during the 2007 school year, we had to align the new New Hampshire state framework with the national benchmarks for science so that they intertwined with one another. So Rachel will talk about grade 6 first.
Okay, so 6th grade had a couple changes. One of the biggest things, sorry, I'm loud. One of the biggest changes was that we had 3 new units added. And we made these changes to better align with the state frameworks and also just to sort of tease out that 5 to 6 bandwidth so that we had the most appropriate things for our students. So the first thing was genetics. And what we did is we developed a hands-on project for this. Each student receives a dragon egg, and they have to birth their dragon. And inside of their dragon, they find chromosome strips. And what they have to do is match up the chromosomes to show the certain genotypes and phenotypes for their dragon. So they come up with a chart that shows us all of the genotypes as well as the phenotypes. And then they must actually create that dragon. And they have a couple different options. They can make a clay model. We also do a paper cutout model for those students that may have some learning differences. That clay might be a hard thing for them to do. And they also have the option of designing their own dragon. But it still has to have all of these phenotypic expressions. And the kids absolutely love this. They're really into dragons, so it works out great. Oh, go back one. The next thing that we changed is now we teach cells. And it's a really basic overview of cell parts and functions. And for this, what we decided to do was a challenge board, which is a 3x3 grid. And within that, students have 9 different project options. So it really touches on all of those different learning styles and allows the student to take a lot of student-directed learning while still hitting the same content. Couple different things that students came in with: a cell pie that describes all of the different parts of the cell, as well as detailed digital pictures that documented the making of the pie. And then another student came up with a cell storybook. That's a day in the life of a cell, and it's all of the different parts arguing over who is the most important part of a cell. A cell timeline, including the discovery of all the different organelles and the functions that they provide to cells, and the student also took the extra initiative to coordinate with the computers teacher and make it a PowerPoint as well. Cell posters. And this also included an annotation so that I knew that the student also knew the parts and wasn't just copying things. And last but not least, they could also make a model if they wanted. That also had to come along with some explanatory notes. And we also incorporated sound as a more teased out part of our curriculum. And one of the things that we did during our summer curriculum days was to build palm pipes. Doug Stiff has a workshop, and he is great, so we made all of our own stuff instead of ordering it. So we got some PVC pipe, and we just cut it to different lengths, which changes the pitch. Then students have to tell us what's vibrating to make the sound, and explain the relationship between wavelength, frequency, and pitch. Part of the culminating project is to play a song and explain why different songs sound different. So we took a day, made some palm pipes, they're color-coded to help the students, and it's really a lot of fun, and the kids really enjoyed it. The one thing we did lose from our curriculum is ecosystems, and that moved to 7th grade.
Which is where I come in. I got this, I'm good. So what we did in the 7th grade in order to take ecosystems into our realm is to buy a kit that was already put together, and we took the FOSS kit called Populations and Ecosystems, which actually lets us investigate with live materials. And so the kids use milkweed bugs, and they also use guppies and elodia and a bunch of other live materials, and we make terrariums and aquariums, and we also investigate with milkweed bugs to talk about populations as they are in our classrooms, which is really neat. And I actually still have some living material, and we are trying our best. We all do, actually. We're trying our best to try and continue the population of those things throughout the school year so that we don't have to replenish those through the company. Milkweed bugs are really tough to keep throughout the school year, but the guppies, they really enjoy continuing populating on their own. So this is a terrific kit. We've actually enjoyed this tremendously. The four of us have worked really well together, and if you're interested in looking at the kit, you're welcome to do that. The other, and we also have a textbook that accompanies that, that has leveled reading in it, so that works well for all students. Astronomy is another unit that we took, and we talk about Earth, Sun, Moon relationships. And the great thing about that is that we can go to the internet. Like I talked yesterday even about astronomy, so we can, because it's something that changes constantly. I told the kids about Buzz Lightyear going to space, if anybody didn't know that. Seriously, he's in space. Look it up on NASA.
I saw it on CNN.
Okay, well,
Right.
you know I'm being serious then. We have to talk about gravity in the solar system. We have a Glencoe astronomy book that's brand new, and they actually just sent us the supplement since Pluto got downgraded to a dwarf with Snow White and his fellows. And we also have some GEM lab modules, and then we have incorporated a bunch of our own materials as well. And then this year, with the help of Paula Chesson and her sister, who teaches at the University of Mississippi, I was fortunate enough to work with her, and this is some of my student-created work that Pat just spoke to you about. These are the historical pieces that the students actually took a day, the works of some scientists, like, for example, this is Werner von Braun, and looked at the astronomer to figure out, did the astronomer just say, oh, I want to be an astronomer? Or did something in the history surrounding the astronomer's life have an impact in the works that they did? And the kids really said, wow, it was the time period. World War II had something to do with the work that he did. This student did Kepler, and there was a bunch of different astronomers, and they all did the work. This happens to be a script, so you're welcome to look at those as well. And the last unit that we got was Geology and Earth History, which was a unit that we had a small portion on rocks and minerals, so it got expanded to more Earth History unit. So we talk about the plate tectonics and the shifts in the Earth, rock cycle, and the time periods in Earth, and how we can tell by fossils and the stages in the Earth's layering, how something in Asia and something in the United States and something in Mexico could all actually have been laid down at the same time period, and we can use fossils to be able to tell that that all aged at the same time. Oh my gosh, that could actually happen. We use Dynamic Earth as a resource, and we also have a kit very similar to this FOSS one called Earth History, which are all lab-based and very exciting for the kids, and they have a lot of fun using clay and making rocks and rubbing sand together and collecting sand from different places that they go and bringing it back to school and figuring out what kind of, oh, this is beach sand, this is sand from a river, et cetera. So it's really fun for them. So those are the 3 units that we do in 7th grade.
And actually, our kneecap test this year, the first true implementation, the inquiry piece was on plate tectonics. So Andy and I and the other administrators had 450 lab stations to set up, and the kids actually had sand and had to move their pieces to assimilate the
Plate tectonic
results, and then document their data and all of that. And they did real well, so we know the 7th grade teachers are doing their jobs. We hope anyways, Mark, right?
Oh, sorry.
Grade 8 had the least amount of changes. So we have already taught a lot of what we got added for our new curriculum, so I'll just go through what we teach. We start off the year with our lab safety, which we need in order to have the kids do the chemistry labs. They need to know how to use all the safety equipment in our classrooms. And then we go straight into our chemistry unit. Some new benchmarks we had was relationship about matter, and we talk a lot about different types of matter, classifying matter. We go into elements, and at the end of our unit, the kids actually create a model of an atom, and they have to research what it's used in, different products, and then they have to figure out the atomic number of protons, neutrons, and they actually have to put them, how they would actually appear on an atom at the end of the unit. In meteorology, we start talking about the atmosphere and how it affects all the weather that we experience here. The students studied the different layers of the atmosphere, and then they had to create board games, and they had to travel through the atmosphere and make it out into outer space, and they had to have all questions to exit the different layers, so that way we spent a day going around and playing everybody's games, and the kids were like, wow, I really know all this information now. I'm like, no, really, that's why we do this. So they had a lot of fun getting to make their games and then play them. They wanted to play them for days, but we spent one day playing their games and learning about the layers of the atmosphere. We then go through and we do a lot of going outside and taking measurements outside with all the different instruments. We spent a week, and then we come back and we look at the data and we calculate the average temperature for the week. Towards the middle of the week, the students were able to predict what was going to happen at the end of the week, because they were noticing the pressure was dropping, and they're like, oh, it's supposed to rain, and that's why, because the pressure's dropping. So it's really nice for them to be able to relate what they're learning in school to what's actually happening outside. Recently, we just did a project on storms. They learn about different storms that we experience around the country, and it's helpful now, well, with all the tornadoes going on, and the students are studying how they form and what kind of destruction they caused. And they actually just did skits on lab safety in the classroom, storm safety, which were actually pretty funny. Too bad they weren't here. And then they had to create either brochures or comic strips on a storm. So these are just some examples if you'd like to look at different storms that students did. One student did floods, and then a student made a comic strip all about tsunamis. And then our last unit is our ocean studies, which we go on our floating lab trip every year. And we just went a couple weeks ago. We had beautiful weather all week long. And the students on the trip, they relate everything they've learned all year long. There's 10 different lab stations that they go throughout. They start, the first couple lab stations have to do with a lot of our chemistry units. So they're checking the salinity of the water, how much carbon dioxide is in the water, pH levels, and they record all their data on the sheet. We're going to spend the next couple weeks of the school year going through all their data and seeing how it relates to what's going on in the ocean. The students also on the trip, their favorite part was getting to hold all of the animals that we got in the otter trawl. They got, in one day, we got over 500 sand dollars. So the students really love the trip, and it ties in everything that we learned about weather and chemistry and ocean studies at the end of the year. These are just some new benchmarks that we have.
Okay, and that's it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask one. Were these rolled out to all the teams this year?
Yes.
Well, I have a daughter in the 6th grade. I'm just trying to understand how come I didn't hear about the cell thing. It seems right up her alley. I'll have to ask her.
The applications were different this year. We're working towards moving towards it. In my classroom, they got the 9 different choices. In different classrooms, they got different things. I can't speak specifically. I don't know who her teacher is, but all of the same content is covered. But depending on the teacher, the application can change.
I just would have expected to have heard about the dragon.
Oh.
Ron, anything? Did you see an increase of enthusiasm for science? I mean, that's really the bottom line on it is, did you?
I have. I know that I've tried to really reach out to a lot of the students and incorporate and bring in a lot of real world relevance, and that definitely has made a difference, you know, even in a lot of these new projects that engage students. They've really seen it, at least in my classroom, they're very excited. And, you know, we've all had days, I think, where we've brought in people from the community into our classrooms to help bring in a lot more real world relevance. So I would say so. And we had a lot of 6th grade girls who attended the, what was the specific name of it? But it was just a day, a conference to get girls psyched about science and technology day. And we had a pretty good turnout. So I would say there's definitely an increase that I've seen, at least throughout the year, in the students I've had.
You don't hear, why do I have to learn science anymore? Because they're actually seeing how it relates to the world and their community, and they know why they have to learn about it.
This year, we added a second science club, too. We have a club called SET that meets in the morning, and we had to add a second advisor because we had so many children.
Excellent.
That's it.
No,
Science Day, the one that was held in Exeter, is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Steve?
My wife is the one who helps run that.
If you want to be on the school board, you're going to have to run. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Guess he told you, huh?
Just 2 questions.
You're
One,
up in March, are you, Steve?
why did the state shuffle this all up?
There was a big change in attitudes towards science, where in the past a lot of, especially the elementary, middle school sciences involved a great deal of memorization of facts, vocabulary, had moved a little bit away from hands-on, and so the shift was back to inquiry. So the elementary schools who got topics that they could actually touch, smell, feel, very sensory. The middle school sort of has a blend of those two, but the emphasis is definitely on the real-world application and inquiry, so that was one major factor in there. And then certain topics seem to lend themselves, I'll use Rachel's word of tease, seem to do that better together, like the sound and light piece in 6th grade. We didn't have both of those together, so they kind of moved those around as well. But I think it was basically based on this, then attitude towards inquiry.
Well, in relation to attitude, the ability to motivate and excitement, if the superintendent had to pay you guys, he couldn't afford it. Thank you very much for working here.
Thank you all very much. I knew when I walked in this evening I was not as smart as a 5th grader. I now know I'm not as smart as a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader. So when we get to the high school, maybe I stand a shot, but not so far. Thank you all very, very much. It's obvious you love your work. So thank you.
These are the fun years of science, too.
Yeah, the whole dragon thing is just like dynamite.
I know.
And let's see, we shall move to Mr. Blunt. Science benchmarks. Well, that followed up nicely, didn't it?
Really did.
Did you plan that, did you?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to let it go then.
All right. Mr. Chair, this evening I bring to you in your packets that were in your board packet this past week are the revised district science benchmarks. And as you've heard tonight in this presentation from the middle school, the new benchmarks were developed from and aligned to the New Hampshire science frameworks for literacy and grade level expectations, and are the basis for the NECAP science tests at grades 4, 8, and 11. We've kind of evolved these benchmarks over the last several months at elementary, middle, and high school. Each of the teams have met, and we've combed through those documents to make sure what we are delivering as district benchmarks are appropriate between and across grade levels. We did meet between 5th and 6th grade, middle school, and high school. Also, late winter and early spring, New Hampshire Department of Ed Science Coordinator and Londonderry resident Jan McLaughlin assisted our high school science department staff this spring in the finalization of the benchmarks that are in your that are in your packet this evening. She was also helpful in our continued development of our common assessments at the high school, and has been a good resource, particularly at the other grade levels as well. So I think this kind of finalizes the major pieces as far as our benchmarks from elementary to the high school. Kind of fits it all together. So what I'm looking for this evening is your approval.
Okay, questions from the board? John, I'll start down by you.
I read through it. It looked reasonable to me.
Okay, thanks. Steve? Ronnie?
I'm all set.
I'm set as well, Mark. The only question I have for you is the same thing I think I ask when we look at benchmarks is, I understand the kneecaps we use is, that measurement, if you will, or that metric that tells us where our students fall and, how we're delivering that curriculum. But like, for example, the grade 3s, are they taking, I don't think grade 3's taking kneecaps, but I'm not sure.
They are not.
So how do we know, for example,
actually, the
that I
state
can explain how wind, water,
the
and
state,
ice.
when the state revised its science frameworks, if you will, they start at K1. They're in groupings of K1, 2, 3. I might have those off a little bit. 3, 4,
that's fine.
5, 6. They really took a comprehensive look and broke those out specifically to give local schools a better idea as to appropriateness of the science curriculum. We also, as we looked at our science benchmarks, and Pat can attest to this since she's served on the science committee, we also have incorporated some science benchmarks that we think are appropriate for our science curriculum. So we've gone above what the state is expecting in some cases. So that's kind of how we came to agreement on these benchmarks.
Yeah, I don't question that. I guess what I'm asking is, if I look at this in the third one down on the grade 3, is recognize that the Earth is part of a system called the solar system that includes the sun, moons, and planets.
Not Pluto.
How do you know somebody knows that? How do I know a third grader knows that?
Well, we do a variety of things, and as you could see from some of the middle school examples, there's a variety of projects in the classrooms, there's assessments,
Okay.
there's different projects, I think, that help us.
I also want, if I can just interfere a little bit.
please.
The kneecaps also would address.
Nate does it from that end. You might as well do it from that one. Go ahead.
My days are limited, so okay. But the benchmarks from third grade and fourth grade would be addressed, actually from K right up through fourth grade would be addressed on the kneecap assessment test also that the students would
Yes, that
take
is
in grade 4. And again, that would continue on every year the kneecaps are addressed.
Right.
But there are definitely assessments that go on in the classroom on a regular basis to make sure the children are internalizing what is taught.
Terrific, thanks. So Nate, you need a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the grade 3 through high school science benchmarks.
So,
So moved.
second.
Ron. John, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. 4-0, Mary.
Thank you.
Mark, thanks.
Mark, before you leave, I just have to thank you and the staff on the work over the last probably 30 months that has been done in science. It's been a tremendous amount of work. The high school we saw last year at this time, we just saw the middle school, we saw the elementary new program coming into the elementary school in this time. So there's been a tremendous amount of work in the science area. And I know Dan was an advocate of it, and I am an advocate of it. This has been a tremendous, tremendous amount of work, and we really appreciate it. It was kind of lacking because it's been about 18 years, I think, for the SKITS program that we put in.
13 or 14. yeah.
14 years
Long overdue.
about that. So thank you very much for all the work here, and it looks like it's an exciting time to be a student in Londonderry in the area of science.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Ronnie. Mr. Parent, come on down. Wow, 2 for the price of 1. Oh, there you go, that's right. Well, you know what, this is a good thing. If Mr. Zakili's not here, else we could pick on him. Well, we could pick on him anyway. But
Good evening. Our adult education grant for FY 2009 is $7,868. This money, as you know, helps offset our budget to cover salaries for our teaching staff. Our tuitions remain the same since the program's inception, which is $125 per course. Along with the hourly rate, our certified teachers receive at $30 an hour. So we're requesting permission again from the board to access this money for the adult ed program. That's an annual budgeted item through the Department of Ed. There's also funding available in adult education for a special needs grant for students in the program who had once qualified for IEP services before entering night school. We piloted an online program as part of our strategic plan this semester in the adult ed program using the Plato Learning Platform. This initial grant for $9,600 in January helped to purchase 3 site licenses, 3 laptop computers, teacher facilitation, and professional development training. The grant allows students in the evening and day programs to access online courses to take for credit recovery. We currently have 8 students utilizing this service, and it's facilitated by one of our certified teachers in the program. 7 of the 8 are accessing their online classes from home, but we do have a mobile lab with 7 laptops available for them to use. 4 of them we got from an original grant, I think the second year in adult ed. We had 4 laptops issued by the Department of Ed. So we just bought 3 more, and this initial grant covered half of the 08 fiscal year. Due to the increase in enrollment of students who would qualify for special ed services in our adult ed program, this grant is now increased to $19,200 for FY09. Our piloted program, we feel, has proved successful, and we'd like to continue to utilize the money to expand our online programming. We're currently reviewing our contract with Plato, which takes us through January 31st, 2009, and would consider moving to a 17-month contract, which would take us through June 30, 2010. This would include the expansion of licenses and staff. We also looked at other online programming, but really feel that Plato best meets our needs at this time. So again, we're asking for permission from the board to receive this grant money so that we can finalize our technology initiative for FY09. Some of the considerations we had going in to appropriate this money were special ed, obviously. We could expand services for EH students. This could service special ed students in our day program who are seeking credit recovery. And we think it may help 504 students with medical diagnosis who have to stay at home. It might be easier to access some online courses for a period of time. As far as media and technology go, the courses are not streaming, video, audio. There are no bandwidth issues. We do not foresee a need for additional hardware at this time. We certainly have enough to help our students. And the 6 licenses we'd be purchasing would service twice the current user population, but through scheduling, because we have 2-hour time slots that the students sign up for, and they sign up at their choosing, we can run it 7 days a week with 6 concurrent users. As far as the $19,200, what we'd like to do is purchase 6 licenses for 17 months. That totals $10,200. We'd like to get 2 teaching licenses for 17 months. That comes to $1,006. Cover the 2 teachers' salaries, which is consistent with the other adult ed teachers at $36.50 for the school year. That totals $7,300 for a total of $18,506. The balance of $694 would go towards support media such as CDs, DVDs, and instructional books. So I can take questions at this time.
Thanks, Jay. Ronnie?
You're welcome.
Real quick question, Jay. How many licenses do we have right now?
3.
We have 3, so we're doubling the licenses.
Yes, we are. We would be.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, if you would, just for background information, could you tell me a little bit about the Plato software?
Sure. We looked at a couple of different sites. First, I could back up even a step more to say that we really wanted, a lot of the adult ed program directors were essentially, this is kind of harsh to say, taking the money and running, because they were saying, well, I'll provide smaller class sizes. Well, we do that anyway. I mean, our class sizes are 7, 8, 10 students, and I didn't feel that that was appropriate to take that money and just say we have smaller class sizes. We really wanted to cater to meet the needs of students looking for more classes. So we began to look at Plato, Keystone High School, and other venues, and just felt that the Plato services, because they had the courses that students were looking for, it is certainly user-friendly. The teacher that's facilitating this is able to navigate and check the progress of the student work in real time. They also check in with his teacher to show the work that they've done. And it was the courses that they offer are certified accredited courses. In fact, I believe they can even, not that we would do this, but you could get your online programming and get your high school diploma that way. It wouldn't be through us. We don't advocate that, but they do.
Just so I'm sure I understand this then, it's not a software, a GUI, a platform by itself. It includes the course content.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Jay, what courses do we offer? What kind of courses could you take on the platform?
Right now, we can take the core classes, anything from English 9 through 12, the social studies courses, world history, U.S. civics. They're going to expand into more elective offerings. Certainly the science, no one's taking science right now, but they offer science courses, math courses, anything that we couldn't offer or a student couldn't fit into their schedule, whether it be for night students' work schedule and then their evening courses, or students just seeking the credit recovery but are unable to physically be present in our adult ed program are able to access it right now. But Plato's looking to expand, and we'll have an expansion of elective courses in addition to the core offerings that they have. They have languages, so right now it's more of the core content.
Thanks, Jay. Steve?
So there's going to be an increase in the laptops available to the students?
There are currently I want to make sure I get this right, 6
That's right.
laptops that are of use, and we use that in a mobile lab. However, right now, 7 of our 8 students are just accessing their online classes from their own PCs at home. That wouldn't be exclusive, though. That mobile lab would be one area that they could utilize to access these courses. We could use the curriculum lab, we could use the library media area,
And they can use their own machines.
we can use our machines.
And how do we make sure we're staying within the license parameters?
Plato enforces that. It's a concurrent license
So-
that's managed at their site.
So they'll see 6 online users and tell the 7th that you'll have
They
to
have-
wait.
Exactly.
If they were all logging in at noontime on a Tuesday, yeah.
Any other questions? Nate, you need 2 motions or 1? Accept the money.
I think you could do one motion that covers both.
Okay. So I'll entertain that motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the adult education grant for FY09 for $7,868 and the special needs grant for $19,200 for FY09.
Okay. Is that, yep. I have a motion.
My turn, second.
Motion is second. All those in favor of accepting the grants?
Aye.
Opposed, none. 4-0, Mary. Thank you, gentlemen. Well done. You didn't even need your backup
Yeah,
there.
he answered a tech question with.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry. That's right. He did answer a tech question.
Thanks, Sean. I think I'm gonna stay for the.
All right, and we are moving along to 7.3, discipline policies.
This is the first reading for the student discipline policies. The superintendent and school board asked the administration at the high school and the middle school to review our discipline policies and come up with a separate regulation for the drug and alcohol policy. Both administrative teams met, the high school and middle school, along with Mike Torch, who's our school to community counselor, to review and make adjustments to the offenses and to the levels, which are highlighted in bold print in your packets. We also have a new regulation policy for drugs and alcohol, and we've made some minor adjustments to reflect parent involvement with the readmission contract. After making revisions, it was reviewed by the superintendent, our school district attorney, and the school board representative on the policy committee. Some of the more significant changes with discipline include moving smoking and possession of tobacco to a level 3 offense, as it is against the law on school grounds, along with improper and misuse of electronics, the cell phones and the cameras, if there were inappropriate pictures taken in unauthorized areas. We felt that would be a more serious infraction, so we moved that to level 3. We also moved all drug and alcohol violations to a level 4 category because they do pose a direct threat to the safety of self and others and require more stringent disciplinary options for that offense. And finally, we drafted policy JFCH/JFCI-R, which outlines the minimum consequences for first-time violations. And they include 5 days of out-of-school suspension for internal possession of drugs or alcohol, 10 days of out-of-school suspension and referral to the superintendent for consideration of an additional 10 days of out-of-school suspension for external possession of drugs and alcohol, 10 days of out-of-school suspension and referral to the superintendent for an additional 10 days of out-of-school suspension, which may include referral to the school board for further suspension and/or expulsion. And obviously, the rule would stay in effect of eligibility to participate in any school activities, co-curriculars, or interscholastic athletics would be withdrawn for 180 days from the date of the incident of the violation. A second offense during a student's school career for any of the above 3 categories of offenses shall result in an immediate 10-day out-of-school suspension, a referral to the superintendent for an additional 10 days of out-of-school suspension, and referral to the school board for further suspension and/or expulsion. And I'd be happy to address any questions on the changes.
Questions? We'll start at your end, John.
Okay. Mr. Parent, could you come back to the upgrading of smoking
Sure.
and touch on the rationale behind that again?
Sure. I should have also prefaced this by saying that the disciplinary options, if you look at level 3 options, it also includes any of the preceding disciplinary options under prior levels. So, for example, with smoking on school grounds or possession of tobacco, what we have done in the past is issued Saturday detentions. But that really limited us under a level 2 offense to either a Saturday or an in-school suspension. So in looking at that, we just felt that where A, it was illegal for them to be smoking on school grounds. B, if they had possession of tobacco, that we felt it should be more stringent as far as our disciplinary options went, and that could include in-school suspension or short-term out-of-school suspension if they were to continue to bring tobacco products on the
What
school grounds.
exactly is the controlling law on smoking on school grounds?
Well, first of all, possession under the age of 18, you're not allowed
Right.
to have that. And as far as smoking, no one's able to smoke on school
Yeah.
grounds. It's illegal and against the law.
All right. Let's see. Are we also discussing these at the same time?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
wasn't clear because
Yep.
they're lettered A through.
Yeah, they all relate, so.
There,
John, just so
yeah.
you're clear, R, when you see an R at the end, that refers to a regulation. E is an exhibit, okay? And the R, obviously, and the other one is also a regulation.
Okay. On the yellow one,
Okay.
the addition of the parent support group, the obligation of the parent to attend a meeting, which I think I understand the rationale behind that, but I'd appreciate it if you would touch on that again, and also on the idea of, well, the only enforcement mechanism we actually have is against the student. Should we really be penalizing a student because their parents couldn't ordain to show up?
Sure. It's a
question.
two-part question, so I'll just answer the first part. We feel that, especially with our school-to-community counselor, that it's their obligation to not only educate the student and to work with them and counsel them over an 8-week period, an 8-session period, but that it's helpful for the parents to attend that and gain some insights from a school perspective. A lot of these parents are coming saying, I don't know how to address this, or I don't know how to control this type of behavior. I need help. We feel it's beneficial for those parents to meet with our school-to-community counselor to see what's been implemented, how those sessions have gone between the student and the counselor, and we feel it's a benefit, and that the parents should come to meet with the staff and with that counselor. As far as the mandate, understand that if the parents refuse to do this, and it reads at the bottom, should a student or parent fail to abide by the requirements of this contract, he or she should be reported to the high school principal and the superintendent of schools for consideration of further disciplinary action. So we would still have the autonomy to make decisions based on the decisions that a student or parent makes.
All right, so in your mind, then there would be a provision to hold harmless a kid whose parents happen to be so disengaged they couldn't bother showing up.
Correct. And we have the insights on these families. Obviously, we're in contact
Sure.
from the moment, before there was an incident. We know our kids, we know the families, so.
Just one observation regarding the white sheets. I think that the preamble on each level, the overview, might need redressing because, for example, on level 3, acts directed against persons or property whose consequences do not seriously endanger the health or safety. It's kind of hard to see truancies and possession of tobacco being an act against persons or property. So that just might want to get redrafted.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Steve?
I'm all set.
Rob?
I'm all set.
Okay. The only question that I have, Jay, is you had mentioned that you had made improper misuse of electronic devices level 3.
Correct.
It shows up on the bottom of level 2 and not on level 3.
Right. I want to just look at this. I believe it should be. Yeah, when we can make that move.
Oh,
Andy's
Andy's
what we
waving
wanted
us
to
down.
caution, and we're going to look at this, was, please come up.
Come on, Andy.
That if a student had their cell phone out,
Yep.
they're not going to get suspended or texting or something. This was for.
Well, they don't work at the high school
if-
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This would be for someone that took a picture in a locker room.
Yep, I
or
understand.
So there is a difference there.
Yeah, okay.
But-
I got you.
So I'm not sure. Do we want them in both? Is that what we're looking at?
The committee felt it should stay in the level 2 area.
Okay.
Because the majority of the
That's
offenses are
fine.
minor, and it's covered under enough areas in level
Okay.
3 anyways, through different wording. So that's
Okay.
why it remained there.
It's okay by me. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Okay, so we've got that. Anyone wanna make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for policy JG-R level 1 through 4 offenses, first reading.
Second. I have a motion, a second. All those in favor of moving
Point
it?
of order, if I may.
Yep.
I'm not all that familiar with this process. Will this result in a public hearing at any time? Will parents have an opportunity to comment on this?
We have 3 readings.
Yeah, we do have 3 readings.
I
Parents,
recognize that.
mean,
I don't know if there's specifically
Absolutely.
a time when people are invited to
Yeah, I
comment.
mean, actually, I should ask that. It's just the usual faces, but if anybody wants to
I can
make a comment now.
The
So,
purpose-
John, that's what I
the-
typically do is,
The purpose
you know.
of 3 readings is to allow people who want to have a comment regarding the policy to come to a school board meeting. We also post it up on the website also. So people can view it on the website, and if they would also like and make a comment about the policy, they're more than welcome to attend the school board meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for reminding me, though, John. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
historic.
Wasn't the intent.
Historically, we have had issues that, when we bring it out and float it for the first time, we will have some spirited discussions. I recall the breathalyzer was 20 or so hours of
Yeah.
conversation.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second to move JGR levels 1 through 4. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I move policy JFCH, JFCI-R, student suspension and expulsion readmission contract for the first reading.
Thank you. Second. I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to move JFCH, JFCI-E to a second reading.
First.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to move JFCH, JFCI-R, student alcohol use and drug abuse to a second reading.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Again, point of order.
Yep.
Is it appropriate for 2 things to have the same code? Because both my yellow and my green sheets have the same code.
That's a question that I've got to defer to the schema that we use, Nate. Because there is no difference between, I mean, they're 2 different documents. So maybe one should be R1.
The student suspension, the readmission contract, is that what you're referring to?
Well,
Yeah, just look at the 2
have
numbers.
Same numbers.
Yes,
the in-
that's okay, because there's the same regulation, the regulation for the same policy. so
Fine.
that's all.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Sure.
Okay, so I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And with that, we'll turn it to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you very much. Sue and Ben are here this evening to present their action research report on platform study, and I believe this is what Ron was referring to earlier this evening.
I've been there.
Are we viewing again?
Yes, we're going to have a view.
My eyes are getting too old. I gotta move. See that?
All right, just rotate.
Just not.
No, it's close-ups that I have problems with.
Disoriented here. Help me to do it? Yeah. Open this one. Let me minimize that. It's gone.
Thank you for your forbearance while we get this started.
Boy, that's a librarian word.
Forbearance? The pronouncer for the spelling bee. Given that one. Good evening. Ben Loy and I are here this evening as the
the lead researchers on an action research study that has been undertaken by the school district during the course of this school year. We have not yet completed the study, but we feel that the data sets that we have collected are sufficient that we're here this evening to give you a report. Just by way of a little background, traditionally, our school district has been a two-platform school computer-using school district. We have used PCs, and we have also had Macintosh computers in our school. For a number of reasons, over the past several years, questions have arisen as to whether or not we should move to a single platform using school district. Included in those considerations are cost, security issues, maintenance issues, and a variety of other things. So last year, the school district's technology committee formed a subcommittee and asked them to take a look at whether or not the situation was such that we should consider moving to a single platform. For about 5 months, a group of people who represented a variety of stakeholders did kind of take a look at some fact-finding and some information gathering, and came back to the technology committee and pretty much said that they thought that the possibility of moving to a single platform should be explored whenever possible, and they felt that we really needed to do, however, some more in-depth study. So with that as a background, this year, the Technology Committee began to look at that and decided to use the action research model that we've used for the past several years to kind of get our feet, get some traction on the question. So tonight, Ben and I are here to talk to you about this. This is just a little overview of some of the things we're going to look at. We're going to specifically look at the question we asked, some underlying questions, the study design, the types of data that we collected, some preliminary findings, some variables that came into play, and some surprises. And I'll let Ben take the next piece of this.
So our research question was developed over a few weeks, actually. Sue and I went back and forth, and we worked together on developing this research question with the assistance of the technology committee. And the question is, can the utilization of PCs in an elementary classroom deliver the required curriculum to an acceptable degree based on allocated time of instruction? And we'll answer that question towards the end of our presentation as we walk you through the process. And there are some underlying questions that we needed to answer along with our research question. Is there a learning curve for teachers in meeting instructional objectives related to the migration to one platform? What type of support is required from the district in terms of training, software, and technical assistance to implement a migration? And will a single platform make a difference in connectivity to the district network and the internet at large? And we'll answer those questions as well towards the end.
So for the purpose of this study, again, we worked very closely with the technology committee. And in addition, we connected with elementary administrators because it is at the elementary level where the majority of Macintosh computers are utilized, although they are also utilized in some specialty areas, including vocational video and graphic arts. But we determined, with the cooperation of elementary administration, that our 5th grades would be the target grade level for the purpose of the study. We requested voluntary participation by teachers in order to provide at each of the 3 schools 2 PC-based classrooms and 2 Mac-based classrooms. So there were a total of 12 classrooms included in the study throughout the district.
In order to ensure an equitable environment with setting up our research, the distribution plan developed by the technology committee, really worked hard to make sure that the experiences for all the students involved in this research were equal. So in each school, there were going to be 2 new PCs or newer PCs or 2 new Intel Macs and 3 older PCs and 3 eMacs. So for example, at Matthew Thornton, there would be 2 PC classrooms and 2 Mac classrooms, and that's the way it was set up at each of the elementary schools.
Yeah, and the decision to put 2 older units as well as newer units was based on the district's overall matrix for the distribution of computers in the elementary schools. So it followed the district's policy.
And initially, the plan was to have all of the workstations networked with auto logins, and students would be able to save their work to a class folder. PCs were to run the Microsoft Office 2003, and Macs were to run the iWork iLife series. And both PCs and Macs also ran Inspiration and Kidspiration.
In terms of the data collections that we use, we asked for teachers' observation journals, asked the teachers to keep daily observation journals, and then we went through and looked for continuing threads or uses of terminologies. We also administered teacher, student, computer ed assistant, and IT questionnaires pre, midway, and post. We conducted a student interviews focus group. We got our trainer integrationist gave us some observations, and we reviewed the automated help desk records and data pre and midway. And again, we're in the post situation right now. We're finishing up some of this data collection.
And some of the products or data that we still need to collect that we're working on because we are closing in on our wrap-up. We're looking to collect student products, a multimedia project, and teachers and students have been working on those throughout the school year, so they're going to provide us with some samples for Sue and I to analyze. We're also going to take a look at teacher productivity, based on the experiences that they've had this year and the types of projects that they've been using with their students. And the library media specialist, they were going to keep a journal and share their observations with Sue and I.
They have been acting as mentors to the teachers involved in the action research because they have the experience level.
And we still need to conduct an interview with our IT technician to wrap things up. And we will collect help desk records through the School Dude IT portion.
At this point, we feel pretty comfortable in looking at the data sets that we have, reporting some preliminary findings. Here's what our students are reporting to us. Students are telling us that some freezing issues, pop-ups, and slow connectivities have impeded their use, and we're going to talk about some variables later on. So please take this with a grain of salt because there are reasons for some of the things that our findings have told us. The students have also told us they'd like more and they'd like better computers and they'd like more time to use them. They have no significant preference for platform or operating system. They like using computers to assist them in accessing the curriculum. And they especially enjoy using Media Blender and Kidspiration and Inspiration in development of multimedia projects and in creative activities and brainstorming.
Right. And I'd have to say that one of my favorite parts through this research process was working with the students and interviewing the students and looking at their comments because the kids are very, very honest and they know what they want.
Absolutely. We also wanted to share with you some representational data from the online survey that we conducted with the students. And I know the board had some discussion recently about how connected are our kids. And we wanted to know that too, because that certainly could have figured as a major variable in how students responded to certain things in a school situation versus, how they were using computers at home. So this is a question asking, I have use of a computer at home, and this is again, this is 12 classrooms in Londonderry's 5th grades. Of the 258 respondents, 256 said yes. 2 students said they did not have use of a computer at home.
Right, and this is from our winter data set.
This is from the winter data set.
Our next question that we'd like to share with the folks here is, if you have a computer, what kind is it? 216 students out of the study have PCs at home, and 42 of them have Macs.
How many computers do you have at home? Again, you'll see that this is a variable that surprised us later on, but those representations, 2 students again, probably the same 2 students, we're making an assumption, who don't have use of a computer at home, said none. I believe it's 88% said that they have one. Not 88%, 88 students. 87 students said they have 2, and 81 said they have 3 or more. So it pretty much splits into thirds of 1, 2, or 3 or more computers, at least for the students that we were looking at.
And the interesting part to this piece of data here is that at the beginning of the year, when we initially surveyed the students, a majority of the students had between 1 to 2 computers at home, and then there was a spike towards the holidays, and students, when they were surveyed the second time around, they
It jumped.
They had stated that they had 3 or more, and we were taken aback by the amount of students that have 3 or more computers at home.
We had to think, what happened between the fall and January when we re-interviewed, and we went, aha. Major electronic buying season. So that's what we're concluding based on the answers on this data set.
The next question that we asked the students was, do you feel comfortable using a Mac? And a majority of the students said yes, and a small percentage said no. And the next piece of data is, do you feel comfortable using a PC? 249 of those students, which was a larger number, felt more comfortable using a PC when compared to a Mac.
We also have findings with our teachers, and our teachers have told us, just like the students, that some freezing issues, pop-ups, and slow connectivity impede use. That they, like the students, require more and better computers and more time to use them. These were common threads. They, however, said that they would prefer to have a standard computer in their classroom for efficiency. Again, having 2 older ones and 2 new ones and 1 in between, they felt really impeded some of the efficiencies in their classroom. So they said, we'd like one of the same whenever possible. They value the current efforts the school district is undertaking in technology training, and they want more training. And they want more assistance with integration in classroom from the computer assistants in the building. They also like using computers to assist them in delivering the curriculum. And we have a couple representational data slides that Ben can...
Out of all the teachers surveyed, 14 of those teachers, all of them, own a computer at home. And out of those 14 teachers, their home computer was the next part. And 12 of those teachers had PCs, and 2 of them have Macs.
These are the variables that we encountered along the way with the research study. Networking, while we initially had hoped to come out of the gates making sure that all the Macintosh were also networked, there were some authentication issues, so some of that did not happen. And that led to some differences between the Mac classrooms and the PC classrooms in terms of saving and file sharing.
Teacher journals became a variable for the research group. We initially intended the teacher journals to be significant pieces of data. However, the journals were inconsistent in their format, and both Sue and I both recognize now that we should have given the teachers a template and a format for them to enter their journal entries.
We did get data, but again, it was not to the level that we anticipated, and probably would have been more significant in the study had we had a template. We had personnel changes. All three of our computer ed assistants at the elementary level are relatively new or came in halfway through the year. So we initially administered a survey instrument, but felt it invalidated itself by the midpoint because personnel had changed.
The next variable was the teacher skill set and the level of integration. And essentially, the level of integration from teacher to teacher varied, and that became a large variable. Some teachers in the schools were able to fully integrate their platforms in their classrooms and spending, from 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day integrating the Macs or the PCs in the curriculum. And some of the teachers spent less time integrating, and that was based on their skill set.
And we also encountered, and we saw this, again, this did come from teacher observation journals as well as from the student focus groups, that there were some attitudes and biases that came out subtly. Nothing that changed the data sets much, but there were some attitudes and biases that we had to take into account when looking at results.
Bandwidth became an issue as well. When teachers were talking about, and teachers and students, when they were talking about the speed in which their computers were processing, it really became a bandwidth issue, and we understand that the district is working towards improving the bandwidth, and that did become a variable.
The software suite. We used in the PC classrooms, they were using Microsoft Office 2003, and in the Macintosh classrooms, they were working with Microsoft's iWork, which is a much newer suite of tools. And there were differences, and the kids told us about the differences, especially when we interviewed them. So we had to take that into account by looking into what a newer version of Office, released around the same time as the iWork series had been released, would that have kind of provided some parity? And we concluded it would have. That some of the things that the kids liked very much about the newer Mac suite would be available on the PC side had we an upgraded software suite. So that is a variable that we have to take into account.
The mobile labs became a variable for the research study, and the reason why the mobile labs became a variable was that initially we had set it up so that the study would be fairly equal for the PC teachers and the Mac teachers. However, the mobile labs were available to not only the Mac teachers, they were available to the PC teachers. So the students were getting plenty of experience and exposure to the iBooks on the mobile labs, and that definitely became a variable.
And again, we have not seen as much student product as we would like, so we have indicated to the teachers that we do need to look at student product, and we will be taking a look at that. And also end-of-year assessments that are done at the end of 5th grade will help us to truly see some evidences there. And again, we should take all of these variables into account when trying to look at the data.
Along the way, we definitely ran into a couple of surprises, and we did discover that the students had a lack of bias, and I really...
The adults had plenty.
Yeah, the adults had bias, but the students really had a lack of bias, and they really truly felt that it didn't matter what they used as long as it was reliable, and that they had plenty of time to use them, and that they could do a number of their school tasks on those computers.
Yeah, again, we can't say enough how often we heard, whether it was in observation journals, on survey instruments, in focus groups, the extent to which these little nuisance things, pop-ups and freezing, impacted time on task, and are discouraging to both students and teachers when that happens.
The students really want color printers.
They really want.
They really want color printers, and we saw that right from the data, and Sue and I, we
It
both.
was pretty intense in those focus
Same message I sent the superintendent when they run for school board.
This one actually caught us by surprise as well, and the students had a desire for integrated units instead of having a tower, a monitor, and all these different components to a platform. They wanted an integrated unit similar to the IMAX.
Yeah. They like the concept that something is in one package and they don't have to worry about component parts all
Right.
over them. They really like that. They made that clear to us.
They made comments such as, it was too busy, it was bulky, it took up a lot of space, things like that. So there was a desire for that.
And again, as we indicated before, we're surprised by the multiple computer households. I don't know, maybe we should not have been, but we were really surprised when, and in the focus groups, we kind of got a feel for that too. Like this 3 computers is probably not that unusual, and but it surprised us.
And here's a research question again. I'm not going to read it again. It's a mouthful, but basically I can summarize and say that, can the utilization of the PCs in a classroom deliver the curriculum to an acceptable degree? And the answer is?
From what we have seen, we believe that the study shows that both platforms are able to provide access to the curriculum without compromising grade level expectations. So the answer is yes.
And here are those underlying questions. Is there a learning curve for teachers related to the migration to one platform? According to the research and the data that we collected, no, there will not be much of a learning curve for teachers related to the migration to one platform, because a majority of the teachers, according to the data, have either a PC type computer, whether it's Dell or HP, whatever, but a majority of the teachers do have PCs.
However, there is a learning curve in terms of the migration of teacher materials to a new platform. If teachers have created and maintained documents and files in the Mac environment, there is the need for a migration of those, and so there is need for support, both from the people in instructional technology to help them reformat lesson plans, units of instruction, as well as from IT to help them back up files and those sorts of things.
What type of support is required from the district in terms of training, software, and technical assistance to implement a migration?
We just kind of
we basically
you the
covered that,
baseline.
yep. And basically, the district already provides support, and the district will continue to provide support. And I believe we're going to touch upon that later on in our presentation. And will a single platform make a difference in connectivity to the district network and the internet at large?
Yes. Yes. The single platform allows, especially IT, to have a more secure and stable environment, and allows for better networking of the total package.
Are there any questions?
Just one question, or a couple of questions built into an observation here. It looks like you've determined that a PC can do the job. I'm wondering though if you have any information regarding what colleges are moving toward, what businesses are adopting, because both the Mac and the Linux models have been gaining a lot of stature in the business world and in higher levels of academia. I know you mentioned video production and graphics and things like that, but I'm also seeing anecdotal studies, anecdotal reports that suggest that the majority of laptops on college campuses are now Macs. Do we risk adopting a fading standard?
Well, our study did not address that question. Our study was simply looking at the two predominant platforms that are available now, and whether or not, based on our curriculum expectations, could either or deliver grade level expectations. I
Okay.
did not take that variable into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. Steve?
I think the conclusion that I heard was not any particular platform. I heard that it was, as colorblind as it was platform blind. It could be either one. It could be the Macintosh platform, or it could be the PC. That the key was that applications are what's important. Can the students do their job? I found it interesting in the survey, it mirrored the surveys that we do on the lunch program and, the playground time. They all want more.
Right. And
It was the same, the same reaction. So I don't, the decision is, which platform. I didn't see a preference for either based on users.
No, but then you look at the next point on the agenda and you see where the question comes from.
What we saw from our research study, essentially it came down to reliability and functionality of the computers, whether it was a Mac or PC.
And access.
And access.
What?
Again, I was part of the technology as we looked at the research paper, and I think they did an excellent job in getting all the information there. And again, I think a lot of the issues that come up are the bandwidth, which would be taken care of, the access to computers, the age of the computers, and when you start looking at that, there's an economic reality that comes into effect, the cost of the computers. And I'll be honest, from where I'm sitting, if I can buy 2 Macs or 3 PCs and put 3 PCs in a classroom, I'd rather go with 3 PCs to give them more access and newer material. A lot of the computers at the elementary level are old, and we tend to look that way. So my feeling as I look at this and go through the whole thing, and I believe either platform can work. John, I'm not seeing the statement that majority of the laptops are Macs over at the school. Maybe because Macs now come in dual platforms, that's a possibility. Just got the sheet from 2 colleges, and both of them had PCs that they were telling me that I needed to buy at the schools, and they're both business schools type of setup for my sons. So, I thought the study was good. It got to a point where we can come to one of it. I think one of the major issues that came up in this study was the network security, and the PCs gives us more access to set up the network security and where we're going. And I think that was a big aspect of this whole situation in my mind.
Yeah, I appreciate the work you folks did. I mean, it appears to be very thorough, so I appreciate that. Yes?
So I'm sorry, I just have to ask one technical question because it came up several times. What type of pop-ups are you talking about that they have a problem with?
These are pop-ups on websites.
A couple of the pop-ups that came up from when I interviewed the students were, win a free prize if you click on this button, things like that.
So they're not warning pop-ups that we may have instituted?
No.
So they're pop-ups that you could take care of?
Pop-ups that say, claim your prize, or you have won, or,
Yep.
These sorts of things.
And of course, the kids are going to click on those.
Actually, a lot of them said initially they did, but then they learned their lesson.
That's one way to learn. Ben, you had a question?
First, I wanted to thank you for the study. It was very good. Secondly, when you did your sampling, was it statistical or just based on what criteria?
You mean, which sampling do you mean?
Any of it? I mean, the surveys.
The surveys were all administered to all the students that were participating in the study, so all the classrooms.
So we have 600 students, and so we talked to 200, we talked to half of them, approximately, based on any selection criteria, or just?
I can't say it was based on any particular selection criteria as much as it was based on the ability of the district to provide the resources in the numbers of classrooms. In other words, because last year all our 5th grades were Macintosh, we needed to redeploy PCs into the elementary schools to set up a number of PC classrooms to see, can we still deliver the curriculum? And it was determined that the district had enough sufficient resources to do this in about 12 classrooms, or 4 in each of the schools.
Anything else? Oh, Nate?
Non-school board member speaking. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Sue and Ben. This was really, I think, an action research project that was extremely well done, that was focused on what had been a critical issue in the technology committee as we looked at utilization of funds and resources. Could, in fact, either platform deliver the curriculum? That became the key. That was the key thing that we were looking for. And I think the results, as Sue and Ben have described, have become self-evident, and that formed the basis of the discussion in the tech committee and the recommendations that the committee is coming forward with, and which Sean will begin to talk about. But I do want to say I think Sue and Ben did a great job. There's an enormous amount of time, and as had been mentioned at previous board meetings, the utilization of this model, not only in the classroom, but also to address particular questions that we have, I think it assists us greatly in the decision-making process.
Okay, thanks.
We'll,
Yeah,
we-
one more,
we'll
sorry.
update things once we get the final data sets. We'll give you an updated final report.
One of the survey questions you had is how many children or percentage of the children were connected to the internet, which didn't come up here. Do you have that with you? I thought that was one of the questions.
No, but I can get it quickly.
I think it was.
Let me go get that.
Yeah, I thought that would be something interesting for the board, because we've always had that question, and if you look at 12 classrooms as a microcosm of a district at the elementary level, give you an idea of that. And I was surprised at the high number, if I remember
I will
correctly.
go get that. I can go online and get that.
Okay,
Thank
thanks, Sue, thanks, Ben.
George, if I may, before Mrs. Ballard leaves, I'd like to ask a question about an unrelated topic.
Well, she'll be back. She's not leaving for the
Okay.
evening. We're not let, she doesn't
This
get
way
out
she
that
has
easily.
to come back.
There is no escape.
I was hobbling up when you asked the question about the pop-ups, and I just want to say, we can and do turn the pop-up blocker on for the Windows-based machines by group policy. Occasionally, there are applications that require us to turn it back off. We can't, of course, turn that on by policy on the Macs.
Okay.
Okay, computer platform recommendations? I knew that.
Okay, this is something I've been working on in conjunction with the Tech Committee, a plan that was presented to them during the last meeting, and it does have the approval of the committee. And it's based on, what we heard from the Action Research Committee. And the plan is, how do we transition to this single platform model? I have a few considerations that I tried to keep in mind as I was developing the plan: the schedule, how fast could we turn this around, how quickly do we want to turn it around, what the budget impact was, maintaining equity amongst the schools, and the culture shock that'll result in from some people transitioning the platform. So included in the packet are some numbers of Macs by grade level. Just a note on this doesn't include the Intel-based Macs. I basically have excluded them from this plan because they're all very new. These are the machines we've bought in the last 2 to 3 years, and they all do boot to Windows. So they take care of many of the administration and security problems that we have with the machines that don't boot to Windows. So basically, the numbers actually for next year work out pretty well in terms of being able to replace the entire 5th grade. And I wanted to try to do this as evenly as possible based on some sort of logical unit, either an entire grade or an entire building. And just looking at the numbers as they're laid out here, it's much more manageable to do it by the grade model that I proposed here. So again, under this model, with 60 new machines, 30 more than we originally budgeted for, I could replace all of the Macs at the 5th grade level. The following year, we could do 4th grade. That would require 80 machines, and I believe I can do this in the context of the refresh schedule that we've gone over at the Tech Committee. And the year after that, we would replace the remaining grades, 1 to 3. And I think that I could do, there's a small enough number of machines at Moose Hill, we can deal with those sort of on a case-by-case basis. And like I said, this doesn't include the Intel Macs, which do boot to both Windows and OS X. And at this point, at the end of the 2010-2011 school year, the machines we'd be retiring are the oldest of the eMacs, and the youngest of these would be about 7 years old. So this is fairly consistent with what we have for regular replacement for these machines anyway. In terms of budget impact, the net savings that I'm looking at here is about $7,700, and this is based on a cost of $650, which is $100 less than we budgeted for the PCs, and this is based on something we'll talk about following this, which is the building of the machines for the summer rather than purchasing built machines. So, again, if I bought an additional 30 machines, I replaced the entire 5th grade, I could do it for about $7,700 less than was originally budgeted for next year. I made a little note here about the 80-plus power supply, which saves about $18 per machine per year, just on efficiency. Equity was one of the major concerns. I wanted to try to do this evenly across all the schools if I could. And the numbers work out very well for this, actually. So right now we'd have 18 older machines. I could put one of those in each of the 18 first grade classrooms and take the other 60 and divide them equally. And as a result, I'd have 4 brand new machines and 1 older machine in each of the 5th grade classrooms. Culture shock, the 5th grade teachers have varying levels of experience and expertise and comfort with the Mac platform. And basically my point here is I'll work with Sue's staff and my own staff to make sure that teachers get whatever assistance they need in terms of transferring files, becoming familiar with the platform, understanding the the additional benefits they get out of the PC in terms of what's backed up, what's the schedule, what's their disk quota, and so forth. And we're willing to do that, and we'll work with the teachers on whatever schedule and time frame they want at whatever level they need. Any questions?
Questions from the board? John, start your end.
Again?
Yeah, well,
I'll
something different.
ask the same question, Mr. Coe. Do you have any information regarding trends in the post-secondary education world and in industry regarding adoption of either Mac or Linux boxes?
Yeah, I've heard the same sort of anecdotal things that you have. I think that in the end that Microsoft is still a very, very strong player. I don't expect that they're going to be going anywhere. And I would like to say that this is the recommendation we have now. If there's some changes in the future, that we could certainly reconsider this.
Okay.
It's not
And
that.
just one question in general about the costs. Your data here says $650 to build a machine. Does that include, or is the cost of OS licensing covered somewhere else?
Yeah, that's correct. The cost of OS licensing, we pay about $45 a machine for the Windows machines. That covers the OS and that covers the Office application, and that is somewhere else. That'd be another $45 for those extra 30 machines beyond what we've budgeted.
Have we looked at Linux or anything like that?
Like
that? Have we looked at Linux and the applications that run on it in its various flavors?
We haven't looked at Linux at this time. We have evaluated a number of open source things, and we continue to look at that, as well as developing some of our own stuff, as an option or an alternative to some other programs. We haven't looked at Linux district-wide, and honestly, we're not in a position at this point to go to Linux district-wide.
I'm sure you're right, but it kind of begs the question: what would it take what would an opportunity to go to Linux district-wide look like?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. What I'm saying is that that's something that would take some planning and some tech committee involvement and so forth.
Okay.
I'm certainly open to the idea of exploring any open source kind of things. We just haven't got there with Linux.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. Steve?
The, falling back to my question about being platform blind, what is the reason then that the selection has been made for PC platform versus Mac platform?
I think that a single platform is more cost effective and easier to manage. There's a lot of advantages for administration, for security, and from the user's perspective for having those things.
So it's more cost effective and easier to manage?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, John. Anything else for Sean? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we support the recommendation for the single platform and begin moving to the PC platform for grade 5 and 0809.
Thank you. I have a motion.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. 4-1. Okay, Sean, and let's get through the summer equipment, and then, John, I don't want to forget you talking to Sue.
Okay.
Diane's going to start it.
Sure.
Good evening.
Hi, Diane.
Happy to be here to talk about the IT internship program that we established this year. We have a win-win situation for both the students and the district with the summer build program. We have a number of students that applied to work this summer building the computers. We have hired 4, and the process began with telling the students about the opportunity in their computer repair and maintenance class. The students were required to come to the district office to seek out an application, complete the application, and turn it into Mr. Downey, who is the instructor of the program. Mr. Downey conducted initial interviews, and then the IT staff at the high school also interviewed the students, and 4 students who applied were selected, all of whom will be seniors or will be graduating seniors. Basically, you want to describe the program?
Sure. So what we're intending to do is purchase the equipment and build it in Lab 173 at the high school. We have plenty of space over there to do that, and we'll take the 4 kids plus the IT staff. We estimate 4 kids, 40 hours a week for 4 weeks, 2 of which will be spent on assembly, another for test, and another for deployment. And we feel that we can get that all done and our machines deployed on a normal schedule for us without impacting the rest of our summer work, including, a new ISP, web hosting, the regular imaging, et cetera. We hope to start this on Monday, June 30th, and be completed 4 weeks later, July 25th. The machines, we're going to assemble these machines in line, kind of assembly style, where each of the students get to participate in each stage of the assembly process. Right from unboxing to the final testing on the machine. And the deployment of these will be what was proposed during the budget with the addition of the MAC transition plan. I have the second page of the packet is the budget impact, and this is the same page that was in the MAC transition plan. And basically the highlight of which is the machines are going to be at least $100 less than what we had budgeted, netting about a $7,700 savings overall, and that includes purchasing the 30 extra machines. I also included, if you have any questions about them, the actual specs that we'll be bidding for these machines. So we're actually putting together pretty good machines for a very good price. I think this has been a win-win for everybody. We're looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks. Any questions from the board?
Sorry, I do. Can I get one?
I'll go
Well,
first.
I'm starting at this side.
No, I mean computer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, didn't they tell you that's part of the deal when you get
Good.
elected, John?
I have to say, I think, you talk about a win-win situation. Here's where we taught the course in school. These children are probably the same students that went out and fixed the computers during the year. And now here we're building them and we're saving the community about $100 a machine. And they're getting experience. They're getting a job over the summer for 4 weeks. So, I mean, this is truly a win-win for the community, the students, and the program. I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting when you look at, you put it all together from the beginning to the end on this one. So I congratulate you on this one. This is innovative, and I appreciate Peter's work on this because getting parts as part of the lease is difficult, but he was able to put that through too. So it was a worthwhile effort on everyone's part on this one.
That's great. I didn't realize that, Peter. Thank you. Steve?
I share Ron's excitement in regards to the academic opportunities for the students. Certainly will be good for their resume. However, I have to ask is, do you believe, as our new MIS director, is this the best business decision for the school district? We could look at purchasing machines from a local vendor. We could manufacture, assemble our own machines. We could buy machines under educational contracts from a number of companies. I mean, there's a lot of options. Those are just three that I pull up. But is this the best business decision for the school district?
There are a lot of options, and one of them, an additional one you hadn't mentioned is virtualization, and that's something that we could explore in the future as well for cost savings. I think right now, this option gives us the best machine for the lowest cost. This is less than what I budgeted for. It's less than some machines that these kids built for Cisco in the middle of the year, from a local vendor. It's less than the current white box cost. I think right now this really is the best machine we're going to get for the lowest price without impacting our schedule.
And you said you're going out to bid for these parts?
Yes.
how long is that list?
Of bidders, 12 or 13, something like that. It was posted too in the paper.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Sean. John?
I agree that Steve raises some valid points. I also think Ron has some excellent points, and overall, as a educational opportunity and just a neat way of using resources, I really think this is wonderful. And one request, when you do build my machine, put Red Hat Linux on it.
Sure thing.
Thanks.
And a little apple on top too, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the IT department to purchase the desktop components and build our computer workstations at the high school using students as the laborers for the price here. I don't know if I have to go into the details on how much it is.
Mary can pick that up, I think. Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0, Mary. Thank you. John, I know you've been waiting.
Mrs. Ballard,
Ballard.
could you come to the microphone?
But, by the way, before you start that, thank you very much for having the
Yes.
students go through the process of going for employment, because I think that's another learning experience, and going through an interview process also, and making a selection that some were chosen and some were not. I think the whole process was excellent, that they had to come over here, fill out the application, go to an interview there. I think that was a big part of this whole issue, or the process, that makes it worthwhile.
Thank you, and thank you for the support of the program.
Thank you. Thanks,
It-
Sean.
Do you
If-
want the internet question first?
Yeah, letter.
In the fall, 97% of the students reported that they had internet access. In the winter, that increased to 99%.
Christmas, Hanukkah. Christmas and Hanukkah. Thank you.
If I may go into high irony mode here for a minute. As you know, Mrs. Ballard, I've been working on trying to build a radio station in the district for 5, 6, 7 years now. And I thought things were going pretty good. And then I read in the newspaper last week that we're plagued with transmission problems. And I'm a little disappointed to have to learn about that from the newspaper. And I'm just wondering if we've gotten them fixed yet.
I think I read the same article, and I think you and I were at the same meeting where that was discussed. So if somehow or other I gave the impression we have transmission problems, we don't. We have transmission, but it is limited to certain parts of the town, and what we're hoping to do is improve that, because our listenership has been growing and more people want to have the opportunity to listen.
So the guys in black suits with antennas probably weren't the FCC today.
What?
In other words, thank you for making the
Oh,
point.
yes, yes. Oh, okay.
I was just a little bit
Right.
concerned that the message might have gotten out incorrectly based on what you had talked about, that while we have an opportunity to raise or increase our coverage area, there is nothing currently wrong.
Right.
That a little clear air won't help.
That's correct.
Literally clear air. We've
Trying
been
to improve
getting
our
squashed
signal
with some.
strength so that more people have an opportunity to listen.
We've been getting squashed today with some interference
now-
from out of town, but that's the
I now
atmospherics.
understand your reference to the FCC, because if we were having problems with transmission, we'd be hearing from them.
Or at least they from us. Thank you.
Thanks for clearing that up. We find we have to do that quite frequently lately.
Okay.
Okay, and 403B, Mr. Curro.
Yes. As many of you know, the school district currently provides a program where employees can optionally deposit in a tax-deferred basis earnings into a 403B. We also have 457 plans. Just a little background, the 403B plans were established way back in '57, really for educational institutions, and then those who on the municipal side, 457s were the common plan. A couple of the attractions of the 403B plans were, up until now, the lack of regulations that the IRS imposed, obviously the fact that they're tax deferred, and the amount of money, not the amount of annual deposits versus the income levels that are required in other plans. Those are really the three attractions for the 403B plans. You want to know that the district currently has over 200, I think the actual number is 213 employees that participate in tax sheltered annuities. And we currently are using or have 8 providers where the employees can choose to deposit their optional deposits. The problem is the IRS has, as many of you know, if you go back to the labor laws through the last few years, has really focused on the private sector for a variety of labor laws, and now have come to look at the regulations and update the regulations on 403B plans. Their main focus was really in 2 areas. One was universal availability, or notice of universal availability by the districts, and withdrawals by employees. Universal availability simply means that districts were not properly notifying employees that the plan was available and what employees were available to get into the plan. And the other one is withdrawals, and this really comes down to the problem with withdrawals is if you've got multiple vendors and the limits for, let's say, withdrawal, I'll make the number up, let's say it's 5,000. What they were finding out over and over again was that Peter Carter would go to Valak, let's say, and take out 5,000. He could also go to Horace Mann, take out 5,000. Neither one of the vendors knew that I've already been to my IRS compliance. So over and over again, they were finding these irregularities and finally decided to come down and put some regulations in place. And in late July of 07, the first of a couple publications were published. The problem with the regulations is because of the sweeping changes, because of what was going on, it really took the providers pretty much the entire rest of the calendar year to synthesize through what the changes were, go back to the IRS for some clarifications, and obviously there's some errors and changes that need to take place. So for local governments, we really got involved somewhere around January and February as they figured out what they needed to do, and then started talking to us about what we needed to do and working with them to be in compliant. Really, going through it all and talking to, and Susie's done the same thing, talked to her HR associates and the school business officials and so forth and so on. It really comes down to the district has 3 options that it can go. Option 1 would be to bring the plan, and when I say the plan, one of the requirements of 403B plan is that a whole plan document be established and obviously has to be in compliance with IRS laws. And what's happening is if any violations of the plan are occurred, or if the IRS finds any errors, the plan can be thrown out, and therefore the tax deferred status of the plan be thrown out. One of the options that I mentioned is the district could bring the management of 403B plans in district. To do that, we both feel, and in talking to other HR and business officials and some people that are in the business of the vendors, that we probably need some kind of a new employee. I couldn't tell you it's full or part-time. Certainly some software would be required, because it's not only maintenance of the deposits, it's the withdrawals, it's determining hardships. All these need to be done. And again, if any one of errors occur and we're found guilty, the district would now become liable for the plan being improperly managed. The second one is what's called contract with a third-party administrator, and using the term that's being called the common remitter service. And what this is, we would contract with a third-party vendor who handles all the deposits. That company then transmits to the multiple vendors that have provided information sharing agreements to that person, or that company, deposits from employees. It also means there's any withdrawals, any changes to the document, all come through this third-party administrator. So what's good for the district is, from my standpoint, the risk and liability of managing the tax shield, the TSAs, all lies in this third-party administrator. There is no risk, there is no liability of errors, omissions on the district's part. We simply just send the deposit to, in our case, our recommendation is CPI, but to a third-party administrator, and that organization then disperses to the vendors of choice of the employees. Now, the cost associated with this middleman service, if you want to call that, is for the district, it's a one-time setup charge, and to the employees, the usual cost that we found was $2.50 or $3, a monthly transaction fee to the employees. What I say is that monthly transaction fee to the employees is the cost of providing a flexibility to the employees of multiple vendors. The third option would be for the district to select a one-vendor provider. I'm just going to use an example. I know VALIC. We decide that all deposits go to VALIC. There's still multiple funds and all that employees can choose, but all the deposits go into that one company. That one company is also in charge of working with us to make sure that the plan document is in compliance with IRS regulations. They also work with us to determine hardships. They determine all the other IRS compliant rules that are now in place regarding 403 plans. The difference obviously is that if Ben likes to working with Fidelity or likes working with Horace Mann or MetLife, you've got that option of a different vendor is shut off when you go to a one vendor option. What we're finding out is, in talking both, again, to the business officials and the HR officials, we haven't seen anybody use the in-house management. And I think mainly cost, but also I think it's more of the risk and liability that's associated with managing this type of a program in-house. What we're seeing is almost a 50-50 split of using the third-party administrator or selecting a one-vendor option. My recommendation, and Susie I think is on board, is for now to be compliant on December 31st, 2007, would be to select the third-party administrator. That gets us compliant, that gets the monkey off our back, and that gets us plenty of time to maybe bring in a small group of those employees that either have TSAs now or would be willing to put money in TSAs, and maybe get a consensus of a small group and bring in 4, 5, 6 vendors, listen to their proposals, listen to the recommendations, and maybe come back with a single vendor option, or maybe we decide the $3 cost, the $3 per month cost, is well worth the flexibility of being able to choose among 8 or 9 vendors. We're not looking for any decisions today. This is a little bit complicated, but it's time that we've spent months going through this. We wanted to make sure that our information was correct, because this is also flowing as we speak. All the districts that we know of are either a month ahead of us or a month behind us or right with us. As I said, most of them just started flipping over and actively pursuing what path of action they want to take, what are the ramifications, what's the risk, what's the liabilities of certain options, what's the cost of certain options. So that's pretty much where we're at tonight. We have to do something in order to be compliant. I'll tell you, to make sure everyone's understanding, today we are fully compliant with 403B regulations. The issue is, come December 31st, with the new regulations, one of the 3 options has to be decided on in order to be compliant when the new regulations become effective on December 31st, 2008.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Any questions for Peter? Ben, I'll start down by you. Ron?
A couple. What is the town going to do?
The town mostly is on 457s, so they're not in 403Bs, to my knowledge. At least when I was over there, They have 457 plans.
I thought we said they all kind of cover the same rules and regulations.
They do, but right now, the IRS came down hard on 403Bs.
Okay.
I will bet you a lunch in a year or two, the same type of regulations will probably come down on 457s, but they came down, they hit on 403Bs first.
Again, this has always been a little bit of a hot button for me. I think before I make a decision, you're gonna have to talk to the other groups, because you're adding an additional cost, and I know
Yes.
in the teacher's contract, there's specific wording in the contract.
No.
Horace Mann or something?
We changed it to, I'll say, general language of tax sheltered annuities. And we have contacted all the groups.
And
We've
I'd like-
explained to them what's going on. They all understand they understand the $3 monthly fee. They understand that, as we described to you, it's a fee to allow access to multiple vendors.
What I want to, before we vote on it, I want to make sure that everyone, they're shaking their heads, and we don't start getting letters at the board level.
Yep.
You're adding extra fees on that, they understand that, and they bought into it.
Right.
Second thing is, I guess I'm, the first option, why wouldn't, we distribute the funds right now,
Yes.
okay? What we're talking about now is the hardships, is the answer that you're talking about, because on a 403B, you're able to take the money out on loans and stuff like that. Why couldn't we manage it ourselves, almost in-house with the resources? If we only have 200 people, I can't picture 200 loans a year or 200 hardships a year.
It's the cost of doing business. You would have to hire some other, whether it's full or part-time, along with some software. We also feel that the person that you bring on.
Munis,
Wait a minute.
we talk about Munis.
Munis doesn't do this. This is a totally separate environment. Munis will only control the deductions going somewhere. What you need to have now is understanding the withdrawals going to a vendor. You've also got to have someone in charge of the hardships, someone in charge of the plans, someone who knows, someone who's got a skill set in TSA accounts. But the big problem is, Ron, if we do it in-house and we manage it in-house,
Yep.
and we're caught in some kind of error or omission, the district is held liable and the plan becomes disqualified.
That's just like your budget. If you go over budget, you get in trouble also with the state.
Correct. If the plan becomes disqualified, you have now impacted 213 employees from getting tax sheltered annuities.
And we guarantee that this has never happened without the outside vendors. 'Cause,
Well,
you know,
if,
I mean,
I understand, if we go
plan
with,
still goes
I understand,
valid.
but if you go to, I'll say CPI, I gotta pick somebody for a discussion. You assume that they have the expertise, which we've looked into, and they do. You also they assume all the risk and liability. So if something does happen, you have the ability to then, I hate to say it, go after them for damages incurred by the employees for lack of the plan being disqualified. It's, from everyone I've talked to, it's may not be so much the cost of an employee, it's pushing the risk and liability of the plan to a third party and let that organization manage and handle the risk and liability of managing the plan. That's the biggest part that you're moving away from the district.
If I understand the conversations that we've had, in essence, to minimize district cost and liability, there are really two ways to go. One is, in effect, a third-party administrator, okay, which allows then the employees, in a sense, by paying, whether it's $250 a month or $3 a month, that really is their choice fee. That's one. Or the other is saying there is only one provider, whether it's VALIC or Nationwide or
Whoever.
Allstate or whomever the case may be. And so that's where it comes down to.
And that one provider would assume the risk.
Assumes all the risk. So, I mean, I
Yes.
think as it comes down to it. So part of it, I think, for the board to consider would be what minimizes the cost and liability to the school board in continuing to provide this opportunity for employees. And whether or not, in fact, the employees, as we go through this process, take a look at various providers and maybe come to some kind of consensus that, okay, Valak or Nationwide or Mutual of Omaha, or whomever the case may be, is the better one. So looking at it from our perspective, I think what we're saying is what minimizes the cost and liability to the school district. And really, there were two. I mean, when you came right down to it, there were two. Either a third-party provider or one vendor, for lack of a better term. And that's why we wanted to get this information out on the table for the board to ruminate over before we brought it back.
I will say, and you know, there's no basis for this statement except talking to the experts, talking to consultants who do this. Their feeling is that although the IRS didn't come out and say you can only pick one provider for your 403B plan, they pretty much did everything but say that. And what the feeling is that over the next years, they're going to the IRS would love to push the school districts or those who provide or offer 403B plans the one vendor solution. They can't tell you that yet, but they're boxing. Eventually, they're going to box you into a corner, but you have no other choice but to pick a single vendor to provide your plan. So, the $3 or $2.50 or whatever the monthly fee is the employees, they need to decide, I guess, or a group, is $2.50 worth having multiple vendors available for choice, or is it too expensive along with the fees? And I understand the other fees are on top of it, or is a one vendor solution better? Now, I can't guarantee you this, but again, our research would show a one vendor solution would be cheaper for the employees in that just the old economies of scale. If the employees were to choose, picking somebody else now, MetLife, obviously MetLife having a sole group of the school district employees, obviously the fees would be dropped, service increases because they've got all the employees of the school district. That's the enticement of going to a single vendor option. Of course, what limits is if certain employees want, like Fidelity, I'm just making this up now, and MetLife doesn't offer Fidelity funds, that's the option of providing the multiple vendors and paying the monthly fee to have that option of multiple vendors.
I see. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Let me get to.
Go, I'm sorry, Paul.
Steve. That's okay. Steve? And John?
In my tenure on the board, we've gone from a limited number of opportunities for employees to an unlimited number of opportunities for employees because we were told it doesn't cost us anymore to offer that. So I appreciate the time to digest what you're talking about because this is extremely different from what we've had in the past.
Thanks, Steve. John?
Thank you for the briefing. While there are apparently historical issues that I'm not familiar with, I can't comment on those. The two things I did want to say is I think I agree with you that we as a school district don't want to be in the business of managing a benefits
Plan.
well, I don't mean to make that broad sweeping a statement, but managing a TSA program in-house. I think that's probably a little bit outside our core technology. But the only thing I'd like to do is reinforce what you said and urge you to make sure that we do know from the people who are going to be either paying the fee or not, whether they value the flexibility $3 a month worth or would rather go the other way because that's
Sure.
it's their benefit and it's their payment. So I'd like to hear their voice on that. Thanks.
John? And Ron?
I guess we we manage a lot of things around here, health insurance, dental insurance, life insurance, and all the other plans. And we've taken this one and we've kind of put it aside, say, no, 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 we don't want to touch that. And my fear, and we'll go back to some anecdotal information. I've read articles where when we go to certain companies, the 403 plans are notorious for taking advantage of the employees on fees and things like that. So going to one plan, I see a company saying, yeah, chop, chop, chop. I want you into maybe just all annuities or something like that. And we got back to the situation we were many years ago. And I don't think that's fair to the employees that we limit them as a group. I'm very concerned about the employees and what we could be doing to them and their retirement funds that they have on here. And that's my biggest concern on this issue. I'm sorry, I'd like to investigate not what's easier for the district. That's not my concern. What's better for the employees on this one.
No, I think we've got to reach some semblance of a compromise if that's what it comes to, but I happen to agree with Ron, and I think that's what John's driving at
Well,
as well. And at least get their
if
voice.
I may, I'd like to make sure I'm understanding what's being said. Ron, are you saying that there could be an issue with a program that acts as an agent to multiple programs? I'm just asking because I don't have the history.
What we've seen before is that we've had a specific person and the choices were limited and the fees were exorbitant. And I've seen articles in the Wall Street Journal that the 403 plans seem to be less favorable to the employees and more favorable to insurance companies and these one vendors that have done it over time. And that was several years ago, I read that.
Right.
Okay.
And that came in with the teachers union, and that's why they asked for the bigger selection of options. And we said, yes, let's give them the options. And they've been happy ever since. And I assume the administrators aren't complaining about the options.
Would that be something we'd have to administer in-house ourselves, or would the option that...
I think we need to look at where we're going and see what it is. I would assume if all school districts are this way, we can almost hire a person, come up with a standardized plan, have someone write a plan, and have those people, a person do it. If you go to a company like this and you say, okay, you can do the plan at $3 a month, that's, that's $36 a person, 200 people. That becomes big numbers. I don't know the right answer on this one, and I appreciate the month's notice.
Yeah, obviously, we're going to have some further discussion on it. I think I've got to learn more about it as well, so.
I think what would help us, and I really appreciate the work that Peter did and Susie did, if you guys have specific questions, aside from the ones that you've raised here, the sooner you can get that stuff to us, the better prepared we can be when we come back to the next board meeting in response to any questions you have. So I think that would be greatly appreciated. That would facilitate the work Peter and Susie would have to do.
Peter.
My only comment was that Ron is correct that in several years ago, when the providers of 403Bs were basically on the annuity side, it was a higher fee structure plan. What's happened is, if you check the bigger ones, the larger ones, Nationwide, MetLife, so forth, they will provide, and we've actually had two come in and talk to us. They do provide what I would use, I hate to say this because we just did a single platform in IT, a dual platform for employees to choose. You can invest your money in whatever on the annuity side, which is a different structure of funds, or if Ron Campo likes to dab in his own whatever, he can go over to the mutual side. So I think in response to what Ron just said, a lot of the larger ones have opened up the access of funds, and I think the question is, how much access of funds does VALIC or Horace Mann or MetLife have? If the availability of funds is, let's say, 90% of what we have now with 8 vendors, that's substantially beneficial to employees, or is it just two of the funds that we have? So it's not really vendors you need to look at. It's what funds or what types of funds do the larger or whatever vendors will provide the employees. Because if you do go to a single vendor It is. I understand what Ron's saying. The cost to the employees by having 8 vendors is high because you do not have no one vendor has a dedicated audience. They're spread out, almost evenly. By going to one vendor, you will get, or the employees will get, a much better service and lower cost. But you're only, like Ron pointed out, you're only allowed the funds that company provides. And that's why I was saying, if you do a third-party administrator now to get the monkey off your back, so to speak, we're compliant. We then would have a group of people bring in whatever number of vendors. And maybe we don't find one that we're all comfortable with. We stay with, we're all satisfied with the $3 fee, and we'll keep the 8 vendors or whatever. Or maybe there is one that at least a majority or a super majority like, and we go with MetLife or Nationwide or whatever.
Again, I've dealt with one of the insurance companies you have in another district,
Yes.
and I found that the fees on either side of that are exorbitant. And that's one of the companies, and that's the
Understand.
part I'm
Understand.
looking at. The fees are high on that.
All right, well, it's obvious we're gonna have to mull it over, and
Yep.
Peter will get questions to you
Yep.
through Nate, and we'll have the discussion whenever it's scheduled again, and we'll do what we can, but we're gonna do what's best for the employees, so. And with that, I think we have, yes, I will take a motion for non-public. I think
Non-public
it's all
session.
done, Yes.
You got that? I don't have to.
Make a motion to non-public session under RSA 91A3, Section 2, A through F.
Motion and a second, roll call.
Steve Young.
George Herman. Thank you.
Ron did.
Stephen Ronnie.
I did it and Ron seconded.
Stephen Ron.
We switched.
No, I have one.
If you're in this room, you're on the air.
Oh, boy.